Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Gabby Williams, the Gabby Williams conundrum. We are back. Not a conundrum as in Gabby's a problem, but because this is an interesting situation. Obviously, Gabby has talked at length on multiple occasions in different years about how she's wanted to come back to Seattle again and again. I think it's three times and again because of how they treat her and they respect her wishes. There's been all this stuff with the prioritization, and that's kind of all funky. It's a whole other discussion, and it's been had multiple times. I think she got tired of answering prioritization questions when we had the presser for her here in Seattle this past season. um like it's been said, Christian said it. I think I believe Rowan mentioned it, and I know we've all talked about it before on our own or in our kind of group chat and whatever. uh just because Seattle has cored her does not mean that she is coming back for certain or wants to be here, right? I mean, I know that's been the same in the past, but this is the coring was something I believe last season that she said she did not want to have. um, and we when we made our post about it on I know specifically Instagram, people were like, "Does this mean she's coming back?" And there was a lot of controversy in the comment section. Yeah, I mean, it very well could be that she gets traded. Um, this would be a significant salary boost from what Gabby has earned previously, right? So I don't know. This is kind of because obviously Gabby Williams is very talented. She's very dynamic. When her offensive side gets going, it's fun to watch. Excuse me. I've been talking too much. Um, it's just fascinating. Christian, I don't know. What do you make of Gabby's potential future in Seattle, or not future in Seattle? And then Rowan, follow you up as well.
You know, I feel like the silence is never a good option. Not an option, but a good thing. Like I've seen people say, well, she's over in Turkey right now with, Fenerbahce. Like, yeah, I get that, but that's never stopped the player that goes overseas before from stopping their WNBA business. There's a contract to be signed, or let's see, he wants to talk to you, or such and so on and so forth. That's never stopped the player before. So, I'm not saying that it's likely that she's gone, but it's increasingly likely that could be a real possibility. Because if it wasn't, like, she got a 1 year supermax for the a lot of years that she's been in the league, so that's already over 200 plus thousand, right? Yeah, that's a significant salary bump, but at the same time, you know, she believed that Seattle was going to keep their word as far as not coring her. But then also you had the expansion draft come up, and let's say Seattle doesn't core her, she's gone to Golden State. You know, That's there is no funny joke running for days that Seattle didn't get a player picked in the expansion draft. She would be that player. Now there is a possibility that they spoke to her about this already, but considering the WNBA and the business side as we know it, as we've seen in recent years, I severely doubt that. I don't think there was a conversation had before. I think there was this issue. Hey, she's one of those six. Um, could her not signing the deal up until date be kind of like a retaliation? Hey, I'm not doing this. Find me a trade. We don't know yet. We haven't heard anything yet. You know, as far as kind of the bigger news outlets, there hasn't really been any rumble of that either. As far as any news on that, so I feel like that's not good. Like if you would think ESPN, Yahoo Sports, those people would know or have an inkling of what's going on. Nothing. So I really hope we don't get a Luka Doncic situation here, but that's kind of what it's feeling like, for the NBA fans.
I mean, I think there's a lot of if not ifs with with this whole situation, but a lot of unknowns and rumors to it. That you like you said, Charles, like everyone is kind of speculating and hoping that the core means that that means she's coming back. It definitely does not. Um, I think the first if is right, like you said, Christian, did she have a conversation with them? Because we know from what we've seen that she did not want to be cored. That doesn't mean that there wasn't a conversation that happened where something changed and she said, that's fine. But another thing, like you mentioned, is she's gone out of her way time and time again to make it very clear how much she wants to be in Seattle. And this time she has not done that. And I think that if she did really want to be here, she would have made that very clear already, and we would know that already. But she has not. Sorry, I'm also getting over a cold. Um, and so I think that's the first conversation. The second conversation is now that she is cored, and she has not signed anything, I think she could have requested a trade, but I've also heard rumblings that even if she did request a trade, some teams might not be interested in paying that amount for her. And that, we all know what she has done for Seattle, what she can do in France as well. I think it's kind of hard because her role in the WNBA has been very different than it has been in France. But I think that she's an amazing support player, or has been in Seattle, of like she just elevates every stat. She can elevate scoring, elevate defense, elevate everything. But I think that for those supermax players, we're looking at people who are often leading scorers, prolific scorers, and that just hasn't been what Gabby has been in this league. And so I think that that could be a reason for the hold up, I guess, is that she could want to trade and the Storm could be looking, but they might not be able to find anyone. And then if that happens, from there, it's kind of like, well, then what? You have someone who, if she, when she does come back to Seattle and she's on this contract, great, she's making a lot of money, but that breaks a lot of trust. If she wasn't hoping to be cored and then she also couldn't find a trade, that will really hurt the team chemistry issues that we already know were happening, or we can assume were happening based on the way that different players have reacted to the news. So I think either way, I'm assuming that Gabby is either not going to be back, or if she is, it might be a little bit of an interesting situation.
Now, I'm not saying this is what Seattle is doing, but since the core designation has come about, we have seen teams use it as a retaliatory kind of measure because they know other teams won't match a max contract. Also,
That's a really good point, right?
we're not saying that's what Seattle is doing, but we've seen other teams use that before in the past. Look at EDD, kind of so to speak. That's kind of an off kind of similar situation. It's kind of just like it. Um, Again, it's also so late in free agency. So many teams already spent up so much cap. It depends on if you really want to go to a Golden State. Do you want to go to a Washington? Do you want to go to I'm trying to think of bad teams in the league right now. There really aren't any bad teams right now. If you think about it, I think the 2025 season is one of the most kind of trying to think of an actual word of parody, but the most parody the league has seen in a while because there really are no bad teams. Like Washington and Connecticut, even the Connecticut now with the moves they've made, they got Tina Charles, they got Diamond Shields, they got Natasha Cloud if she decides to play, they got Marina Mabrey. Like they've got a decent team still. How does Connecticut have more players not in Seattle? I know that sounds a little bit angry, but I'm just like it just
But
came out of nowhere.
how do you lose your whole starting five and still are able to have the team that you would put together at this point?
Rowan and Charles, the Storm lost almost their entire bench, but no one smells anything fishy about that. Like I know I got my tinfoil hat on, but come on, man. Everyone's gone. Jordan Holmes is gone. Victoria Vivians is gone. Like, and Jordan's a great player. She just didn't get a lot of opportunity in Seattle, deep bench, I guess. But they got some work to do, man.
Well, and also at this point, if they did want to anyone who's wanted to be traded at this point has probably been traded. And so
Yep.
I think if you wanted to find someone to trade for Gabby, it would have to be someone that's like, wow, look, Seattle's offering this really great thing. Sure, I'll trade with Gabby. I wasn't thinking of trading, but I will. But from the way it's gone, it sounds like Seattle's had a hard time in those conversations, and that does not seem like that will happen with someone that would be at the caliber of a trade with Gabby. It seems like they would not just willingly go for Seattle at the point that they are right now.
Yeah, and I think it's important, and I know Christian's talked about it, and it's pretty evident, but with with how things have gone over the last few years, with teams getting their own facilities, right? And how important to having certain resources is for your players, and then, going forward to attract new players. Seattle has a brand new facility, just opened last year. They've got a winning pedigree. They've got two veterans, two legends of this league currently on the roster. They've got two young and exciting players, uh, that will be hopefully pillars of their franchise's future in Ezi Magbagor and Jordan Horston, right? You live in a sports city that is wildly popular, and really does a great job at supporting its women's sports, right? But no one wants to be here right now. If that's like, I know we do have folks that will ride for us, right? Uh, I know Christian knows what I'm talking about. Um, but I know there will be, like they've got them, as we've talked about, they've got the cap space. If they want trade resources, they've got picks. They've got 3 first-round picks next year. Like, they have the resources, they have the tools. The tool belt is there. They're not walking around with nothing. So it all points to there being other issues. It's not like the Seattle Mariners where they have chump change to play with. That's not the case. So, I don't know.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, where are you going to watch the Seattle Storm away games this year?
Away games. Well, Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports. So I was thinking of coming here if that's okay with you.
I think that makes a lot of sense. See you all here.